How are you
Shini,
doing?
oh good, oh good. Shini is trying to get Mr. Gautam Ray online.
Yes, he's just trying to connect.
So, Mr. Mishra, how are things going? How the smart grids are getting smarter, or people are getting smarter?
Sorry, sir, I didn't get you.
People are always smarter based on their exposure, and grid has so many connects and disconnects to actually become smarter. But
Quite true.
I say transmission and our bulk power system is quite smart, smarter than so many of the advanced developed countries. But we have
We
miles.
are. You see, every movement in technology presents its challenges,
Yeah,
and this last disruption because of COVID has thrown a lot of things out of gear, and it has posed different kinds of challenges. In fact, I figure out that economic challenge and the income disparity challenge or the wage disparity challenge is going to hit society, unfortunately, because it is in times of stress when inequalities bring out their worst forms, you see, and dissatisfactions. Though technology, mind you, has helped us tide over this kind of crisis. Otherwise, without this technology, we would have been in a mess. I only wish that there was some technology to control floods. The city from where I'm speaking right now, Gurgaon, was totally inundated. It had turned into a lake yesterday.
Mr. Gautam Ray is here, so I think we can start the conference.
Okay. Oh, well, friends, it's my pleasure to welcome all of you to today's event, which is on AI and analytics in energy management. We have a galaxy of experts going to speak to us today, led by Mr. Gautam Ray, Sanjay Mukherjee, Mr. Tushar Dalmia. Then we have Mr. Pandya, Mr. A.K. Mishra, and Mr. Avdesh Kumar with us. The subject that we are going to discuss today is on intelligent operations and systems management post-COVID. Now, post-COVID has brought in a new dimension of stress and also a new dimension of management. In fact, when we talk of AI and analytics in energy management, AI, I would say, and analytics come into play when a system moves away from very simplistic tools to more complex tools. And also when the customer base enlarges far beyond what conventional systems are used to handling. The complexity of operations is very evident when, for example, when flying and navigation began, there were no aids. But as more and more systems and speed of delivery and speed of operations comes to play, as well as a very large number of clients that you are handling, and the number of inputs that you are going to handle, particularly in new sources of energy, then I think artificial intelligence and analytics play a very vital role. Because you cannot think of a modern aircraft flying without analytics or artificial intelligence. Similarly, ships cannot navigate today with all the complexities, the very heavy loads that they are carrying, and other considerations. Then you see, because the multiple sources of supply today, when renewables are coming in, you're not banking on a single powerhouse to supply you power. Systems are interconnected. Usages of power within those systems are getting extremely complicated. Loads are increasing somewhere they're going down. Now with the systems reaching out almost like a human body's circulatory system, we are today in a situation where you need something like the human brain to control the operations, and that is what is happening. And we have to accept that development, and the earlier we accept it and devise it to control our energy operations, particularly in the electricity sector, and also, I would say, in times to come in the other forms of energy management, where storage will also come in. That's another factor which will be added into the complexity of operations control. So this brings us to today's subject. And also, as I mentioned, customer base getting enlarged. You deal with 100 clients, 200 clients, 2,000 clients, you can do with conventional systems. But when we are dealing, say, with 200,000 clients, or even more, multiples of that, then you need different systems. Now, what has COVID taught us? COVID forced us to remain indoors and at the same time try and lead a normal life, where operations were disrupted, but we tried to minimize the disruption. Children's education was affected. If it had not been for online classes, those children would have been without any kind of educational aid besides the books that they were handling. The social interaction that they needed was also missing otherwise. Today, we have overhead systems of energy or overland systems of energy, electrical wires, pipelines, etc., being replaced mostly by underground systems or by wireless systems. Now, control of these systems again and repair and management of disruptions requires you to have intelligent AI systems and analytics in place which can ease the operations. You cannot use measuring tapes to measure today's metric needs. Similarly, you need this technology. You have to use this technology when distances are increasing, for payment mechanisms, etc., for customer satisfaction. How does a customer get across to you new technology, the technology through which we are able to meet today and discuss these issues, which is unthinkable about 4 or 5 years ago even. Or it was very expensive, has become affordable. So that is the other point, that whenever we use these new systems, somebody has to pay for them. And when somebody has to pay for them, the technology that we are adopting should be affordable, and at the same time, technology should not be disrupted or hacked into for disrupting operations. That is the other side of the challenge. That can the enemies of the system, I don't say enemies of the country, enemies of the system, can they play havoc into your systems management, and how do we secure those systems from such what we call today cyber attacks or malware or any kinds of unwanted intrusion? These are, I think, some of the issues that we would be handling today. And of course, we are at the moment going through the monsoon season, and the climate pattern has undergone more violent changes, like human temperament. When humans have been retained for a long time in captivity, clouds have been kept away, suddenly they've come bursting on us. Temperatures are rising, different climatic extremes are being experienced. In all these situations, we will need instant responses and very, very different kinds of responses to detect faults, to correct faults. Drones, are going to be a matter of day-to-day living. We will have to see how do we manage the traffic of drones, who will be controlling their movement, who will sanitize their use. So new technologies are going to present new challenges, but that is progress and that is development. And we are here today to discuss such a topic with a galaxy of experts who are handling things on ground. And I'm sure that today's session is going to give us a lot of insights into better management, better customer care, more economic operations, and more facility for society. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. May I now request ICC Co-Chair National Expert Committee on Energy, Mr. Gautam Ray, to kindly address us. Over to you, sir.
Good morning to all of you. It's really a pleasure and I feel honored to be here. And what I see the difference this time, that generally we discuss on the policy matters, but rightly we have decided, we have thought it prudent that we need to deliberate something on technology. This committee is blessed with the guidance and advice of Mr. Anil Razdan, who I am finding becoming more and more young day by day. And definitely we have experts. All of us are eagerly waiting to listen to Mr. Sanjay Mukherjee, who is my dear colleague also, Mr. Tushar Dalmia, Mr. Vishal Pandey, and Mr. A.K. Misra. I will just speak a few words. If you go by the history of the power sector, it has never been a low technology business. It has always been a high technology. In fact, 100 years back, 50 years back, running giant turbines or reaching the electricity which cannot be seen to the doorstep of every household is not a very low technology affair. So with the changes of technology, what has taken place in the society, power industry, power sector is also, I mean, in a broader sense, the energy as a whole has always tried to make themselves compatible to the technological advancement. And that has happened. Why we are discussing today? What is the difference? Yes, one, of course, the whole world has seen this COVID. So it has completely changed our way of life. All of us agree. And that probably one threshold. Another is we all are feeling that now we are probably at the doorstep of a transition. Technological development, if you see in the society, while there is a gradual development, chronological development takes place, but there are some thresholds which at one point of time brings the qualitative change. And probably that doorstep we are now at that doorstep. COVID, of course, made us much more empathetic. We also understood that we have to live in a collaborative way. But at the same time, it has also forced us to think how to make our physical presence as less as possible. Trans-border movement has become restricted. I am not saying that we have been asked or we have to design something to go back to the primitive age of living in my own local society. But at the same time, you have to stay locally, think globally. And that only technology can bring that qualitative change. If you have to stay locally but enjoy globally, the technology can only bring that fruits to you. So this is post-COVID, if you ask me, this is the difference where we need to move into. There are some other elements of compulsions. Compulsions in good sense I am speaking of. One is efficiency and ultimately leading to cost. Everything today, and electricity in particular, all of us know, because it's not a product which got its brand, color, something like this, like a car. It can only be rely on the reliability as well as the cost. Those are the two cutting edges. So bringing in efficiency and the cost, least cost possible. Second is the customer. The society as a whole is changing to this is digital way of dealing. So if we have to live in this society, we also have to be compatible with that. And third, of course, what Mr. Razdan was correctly speaking, that we have taken an oath. India as a country has taken a lead on it, that we will make the planet green. So these green initiatives, speaking for the decentralized generation, decentralized use of renewables, and which has to be properly integrated in a multiple way, in a complex way. So that also need a pure play optimization, which can only be resulted through use of latest technology. But the technology has two aspects in it, in my view. That technology per se, if it is not really a contextual, because the context is very important, and another is the capability, because the people, ultimately the people who will be handling it. So unless you have a proper process in place, unless you are rightly applying technology on a right context, and if it is not in the right hand, technology can lead to the results we will not be getting. And we have seen in the history, many such disastrous results has come in. So to make it compatible, contextual, and capability of people to handle it, so this is a comprehensive way through which we should go through. It should come as a part of our comprehensive plan. It's not a bit by bit applications. It's not something experimentation, because we have overcome that period. Now we have to really plan something based on the results what we have got, the fruits what we have seen, to make a comprehensive plan. And I believe that the people whom we have today in the panel, listening to them, we will definitely get an idea and a direction and a vision that where we should lead to. This is a very, very, right topic and right moment. So I hope it will be a good discussion, good deliberation. I will not waste your time much. So with this, I welcome you all, and whoever is listening to this session, as well as the esteemed speakers. And I would request Shireen to take it forward. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, sir. May I now request Mr. Sanjay Mukherjee, Executive Director, Distribution Technical, CESC Limited, to kindly address us. Mr. Mukherjee?
Thank you, Serene. I'll need a few moments. I want to share my screen because I have a few slides prepared.
Yes.
So just give me a moment.
Yes, sir.
Serene, am I allowed to share my screen?
Yes. Are you able to share the screen? Yes.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Serene, the first slide, is it visible?
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. And a very good morning to all the distinguished speakers, the chair, the co-chair, and all the other participants. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to share a few ideas on intelligent operations and system management. For the time being, I'm not using the term post-pandemic. Why? I'll share a bit later. So my thoughts will be mostly on the discom space, mainly for two reasons, because this is the most happening sector in the power segment currently, and secondly, it has direct contact with the consumers or the people. It's needless to mention that our network operation is becoming more and more complex, uh, because from a few large power plants, centralized operations, the long distance power transfer, we have started to shift to smaller power producers, decentralized operation, midpoint injections. From unidirectional power flow and passive consumers, we have started to move to bidirectional power flow and active consumers. By active consumers, I mean prosumers. By this time, this term is everybody is very well conversant with this term. And currently, the talk of the time is performance through adoption of intelligent operations and smart technologies, as Mr. Razdan and Mr. Rai has correctly set the context on. Now, if I think of moving from yesterday's grid to the grid of tomorrow, the basic blocks which have to be firmly in place are a robust network, continuous capacity augmentation, smart network monitoring and control, asset health monitoring through new technologies like IoT and analytics, then IT enablement, then data democratization, then embracing future technologies like AI, ML, blockchain, clouds, etc., then digitalization of consumer services, then promoting sustainability. These are the major blocks that have to be firmly in place to travel from the grid of yesterday to the grid of tomorrow. Now, if I talk on the blocks that I've just referred to, the first block being a robust network in place. So the gas insulated switchgear or the GIS substations will are going to give greater network reliability, enhanced safety, and would go a long way in reducing space requirement. Then ring networks on EHV, HV, and even on LT side would give the discoms a leeway in faster isolation of faults and quicker restorations, and optimize and fully utilize the electrical network. SCADA implementation, correct SCADA implementation for remote monitoring and control and visibility of the last mile network will be the requirement as we go along. Then ringman units or sectionalizers at strategic locations of the network, again for faster isolation and restoration, enhanced safety. Because just if we have, say, one such sectionalizer with remote operation facility from the SCADA for every 3 or 4 distribution transformers, then for any fault in the network, only that much number of DTRs would be out of service. If we have a remote operation kind of regime from the SCADA, then the self-healing network for very sensitive consumers, wherein within milliseconds, if one feed goes off, the other feed would automatically come into play without even intervention from the SCADA. Even changeover on the LT side, that also for very essential consumers like hospitals, nursing homes, we can think of LT changeover. Smarter space management, because if we think that space getting land will be more and more costlier as we make further developments in our economy, so multi-tier substations, one substation holding various voltage grade switchboards, then containerized substations, then gas insulated switchboard with inbuilt protection and control for more compact design, easier future augmentation, and definitely cost optimization. Now, the most talked about aspect is a smart meter rollout. While smart meter is a meter, but I would try to look at smart meters as a smart sensor in every node of the network. Why is it required? because as I said during the initial part of my talk, that there will be bidirectional flows, there will be midpoint injections of power. So each node, how each node or each component of the network is performing is going to be very, very important. So there are requirements of smart sensors in every part of the network, and smart meters fit the bill. Uh, Currently, we know that 100% remote billing, then lowering of AT&C losses are being talked about as the major use case of smart meters. But there are many other use cases to it. And if we use the technology correctly, then we can have real-time outage monitoring, identification of overdraw, DTR energy audit, DTR indexation, tariff mismatch identification, and a host of other analytics for efficient, very efficient operation of a distribution company. Then comes the smart outage management, because we are all talking about 24/7 power supply, reliable power supply, that too. So outage management is going to be very, very important. Smart meters, HT, AMR meters will automatically throw up outage alerts, which through proper IT enablement can be grouped into calls and directly flow to the complaint management system, to the vans, and then directly to the fuse man sets or the fault restoration teams, who can then directly with GIS enablement directly go to the site and fix the problem. Then, as Mr. Razdan correctly pointed out, the smart energy management, the major aspects being the distributed energy, the demand side management. I'll not go deep into all this. And then reactive power management. These are going to be very important aspects for intelligent operation of a distribution system. The demand side management or battery storage, currently the technology is under development. It requires a lot of space. It is costly. But it has its use cases also, some being the capex deferral, then mitigating RE intermittency, then load balancing, better outage management. But currently, studies show that the return is yet to be a positive, unless the costs come down and the density, the space comes down also. Now coming to digital control and protection. Uh, we must have numerical or digital relays in our network, so that in the event of faults, it gives the disturbance records and throws up on a mobile or a tab, so that the operating engineers can get to know that which part of the network is faulty, which part to isolate, and how quickly it can be restored. So everything can be have on a tab or a mobile, and everything can be analyzed on the move. We need not go directly to the site to understand what has happened. Then asset health monitoring. While talking about asset health monitoring very briefly, thermographic imaging, monitoring of partial discharge, then visual inspections, all these are non-intrusive. The assets can be running while these tests can be done, and all data that such imaging or discharge monitoring throw up can be stored and compared through analytics with the initial footprints, and the movements can be mapped, so that one day we can move from preventive maintenance to predictive maintenance. Then, as Mr. Razdan correctly pointed out, more and more usage of drones are going to be coming in. And then IoT based monitoring of power transformers and digital transformers, and a software for the distribution engineers to monitor the same from remote, and correctly intervening when the actual maintenance is required. Then monitoring of outdoor substations, pan and tilt cameras, sensing any over temperature compared to a threshold value can give direct alerts through email or SMS to the distribution engineer, so that he can know from remote that which part of the network or which station, which joint to be specific, has to be attended to. I've already talked talked about GIS enablement and analytics. I'll not go deep into this. Then I spoke about data democratization also. Currently, meter inspection and meter reading can be done through tabs, which may lead to manpower optimization. Manpower optimization would mean that putting or taking away manpower where it is not required or required in less numbers to a place where it is required in more number. Then zero paper usage, faster customer grievance and redressal. Then metering on the go means suppose the operating engineers or operating supervisors visiting the consumer's premises will have entire data on the mobile or the tab so that he or she can give better service. These will lead to the organization being more and more agile and taking decision making to the edge. Then usage of other technologies like mixed reality and augmented reality, uh, looking at smart IEDs, intelligent devices from remote, and using analytics to have a better view and better monitoring of the network from remote. Then other future ready technologies like digital twin, then AI, ML and blockchain, big data analytics, 3D modeling of stations. All these are going to ride on data and throw up more and more actionable insights so that the network assets, consumer service, everything can be taken to the next level. Currently, uh, since we are now talking about the pandemic, uh, the virtual office for the consumers is going to be very, very important. It's already there for many discoms, but other digitalization of services like online payment, AC application, new connection, change of name, and many other things. Then the chat bots, the voice bots, the WhatsApp bots, all these are going to be value adding to the consumers. Then sustainability promotion like adoption of e-vehicles and electric cooking can go a long way in both on the safety side, on the pollution side, as well as the smoothing of the demand curve also, because by correct demand responses, these kind of technologies are going to be very, very important as we go along. And yes, the journey continues. I'll stop here by one statement that whatever technology we talk about in the discom space, be it pre-pandemic, no pandemic, post-pandemic, the operation has to be intelligent going forward, because ultimately we are dealing with consumers, and while a robust network has to be in place, good technologies have to be in place, but ultimately we must remember one thing, that technology is always available at a cost. We must be careful in adopting the right technology suiting our requirement, and the technology adoption must give some value so that no additional cost is passed on to the consumer. Thank you. I stop here. Serene.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, may I request Mr. Tushar Dalmia, Director, Anvil Cables, to kindly address us. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sri. Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be amongst the august panelists that we have here today, and a beautiful audience that's listening to us. I would first like to thank Mr. Razdan for setting up a beautiful context for this discussion, and Mr. Mukherjee for a brilliant presentation, which almost took all the points that I had in mind, and he presented them much better than I ever could have. So I would like to start with my own experience with technology. And I have personally always been a person who's been averse to technology. And I thought that technology added a lot of clutter to our day-to-day lives. That is that was my approach. And I didn't even have a computer on my desk till before the pandemic, because I thought it took up too much time. I spent, maybe looking up the news or on Facebook. However, the pandemic made me realize that technology has a lot of benefits that we can draw from. It can help us organize and make things efficient. ERP implementation within our organization made us realize how it is a painful process to adopt a technology, but the benefits are massive once you're on the other side. Mr. Ray spoke about changes that are incremental versus disruptive in nature, and as for my belief, the IoT change is paired with analytics is a disruptive change that's taking place right in front of us. An IoT device essentially is a measuring or a sensing device coupled with a communication piece. And that can be used for so many applications, whether in the grid or otherwise. Smart metering is one of those applications where we have been implementing projects and we are seeing benefits of implementing such projects. Since metering was discussed by Mr. Mukherjee in great detail, I just have a few points that I would like to add on top of it, based on our experience of implementing smart metering projects in Assam. The first thing I've realized is that it is great for the employees of the discom, and that is a group of people we completely overlook a lot of times. So during our implementation, we were told that most discoms carry out something called a disconnection drive, where they will identify one Saturday in a month, and they used to go to customers' houses and disconnect connections. Clearly, this cannot be a very happy process when you have to go to a customer and tell him that we are going to cut your line because you haven't paid your dues. And what they are doing now in Dibrugarh is that those Saturdays have been changed to playing football, because disconnection happens automatically, and they had this thing on Saturdays once a month anyway. So now we are encouraging that why don't you get your team together and do a fellowship activity instead of doing a thing like a disconnection drive. So this is one side of technology that we must understand, that it is to make people's lives better. It is not to just sell a system. It is to make people's lives better, and we are seeing that happen. Some of the use cases that we have seen when we've implemented smart metering. So one typical use case we have seen from where we are doing analytics based on the data is you can easily identify patterns. So for example, a customer who has taken a residential connection and is using it for commercial use can easily be identified using basic analytics. This is one of the most basic kind of analytics that can be run to identify something like this. Even the demand charges can be easily identified when customer is exceeding demand, and charges can automatically be added on to the next month's pay. Customer also is seeing benefits because with the app in his hand, he has the advantage of being able to see what is his consumption pattern. Progressively, with more and more data coming in, we can show him consumption vis-a-vis his neighborhood, so he can start now sensing whether he's wasting power or not. We can also once time of demand tariff starts coming in, the app can become a way of him getting alerts for low tariff hours, when he can plan high consumption activities like maybe electric cooking, maybe heating the water, and things like that. So there are a lot of benefits that come in with smart metering. My only humble request is that the smart metering projects being carried out, there is going to be a large program now over the next few years to implement this in the country, and it'd be a pleasure to see it dehyphenated from theft and AT&C losses, because smart metering has a much larger context than theft only. Yes, theft reduction must be a goal, cannot be the only goal. And the second thing I would request is, if the technology is compatible with future technologies, it would add to a richer smart grid ecosystem in the future, rather than be an isolated attempt. Those are my 2 bits. Thank you so much for the time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Damia.
Thank you, Tushar. That was a very good analysis. And I'm so glad that we are accepting technology, and COVID has helped us, I think, accept technology faster than we would have otherwise. Thank you so much. Please carry on.
May I now request Mr. Vishal Pandya, co-founder and director, RE Connect Energy, to kindly address us.
We can see your screen, Mr. Pandya. Maybe you need to activate your speaker.
Mr. Pandya?
Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, so sorry. I mean, I started speaking, not realizing I was on mute. Is my screen visible?
Yes, you have to take it to the full screen mode.
Yeah, just give me a second. Yes. Is it all right now?
Yes.
Yes, thank you, and my apologies. So good morning, everyone, Razdan Saab, all the co-panelists, co-chair, and all my fellow colleagues here. We have got very limited experience in AI and analytics, and we thought we would start with some of the core opportunities as well as challenges that we see, where technology can provide a wider kind of intervention for the benefit of all the stakeholders. So as Mukherjee Saab said earlier, that distribution is where most of the action is. If you look at the overall ecosystem, it's changing very rapidly. The generation side, the rising renewables are creating its own opportunities as well as challenges. The transmission is getting augmented to accommodate renewables, to accommodate battery energy storage systems. And distribution is where a host of new ecosystem players are emerging, be it distributed energy resources or smart meters or electric vehicles or EV charging stations with battery storage, and smart metering again making consumers being more and more proactive towards what kind of energy they use, what time of day they use, and is there any play for consumers to participate in the mainstream market. And all of these ecosystem players, be it generation, transmission, or distribution, we see a rising trend of all of them getting connected, participating in the grid management or market dynamics pretty close to real time. And a host of digital applications are getting utilized, be it demand supply forecasting and balancing, use AI or remote sensing for predictive maintenance, expect flexibility from even resources like conventional power production units or even consumers for that matter, and look at demand side management and response in a more meaningful way. So the entire landscape is changing, and the core drivers are not only renewables but host of new technologies, be it storage or EVs or 4G and 5G now, which can really enable large-scale transformation for the entire energy sector. I would start with renewable, where we have kind of very wide and rich experience in terms of handling it, in terms of grid management. And the two charts, what you see on your right and on your left, are state level total energy production in terms of megawatt. And you can see that whether it's Madhya Pradesh as a state or entire western region, which combines MP, Gujarat, Maharashtra, and some of the ISTS stations, wind alone, if you see, while the capacity is significant, for example, 15,000 megawatts in western region alone, the peak for entire year has not been more than 8.5, 9,000 megawatts. Same goes with the Madhya Pradesh state. So if you have to summarize the generation pattern for say wind alone, we can fairly say that it follows a 20-30 rule in terms of generation. So what it means is that only 20% of time in a year, the wind generation in terms of installed capacity has crossed 30% of installed capacity. And this applies at a state level as well as region, which is a quite a broader geography. And what it also implies is that not only the variability associated with it, including the ramp ups and ramp downs, are required to be managed more efficiently, the transmission also requires very large scale augmentation to accommodate this kind of resources. Same goes to demand. Now, demand, I have taken MP as as a reference here, and we looked at 1 full year scan of what is the total energy consumption in MU. We have not gone within the day in terms of intraday variations. This is like daily variations. Calendar year 20 was kind of very eventful. Like Razdan have said in the opening remarks, that climate at times, start acting in a very angry manner, and we can see the impact of that not only on renewables but also on the electric demand. And some of the key events, most of us would be familiar with that. Like, for example, when the lockdown happened, the demand crashed about 35%. When we were hit by Amphan and Nisarga from the western coast and eastern coast, we again had about 33% demand drop for this particular state. Monsoon, of course, it's a known event, but you can see that it goes up and down very frequently based on the nature of the weather that prevails over a region. The most interesting part here was the cyclone Burevi. Now, not many of us would know what happened here, but the demand in MP dropped by 26% because of a cyclone which kind of hit Tamil Nadu and not beyond that. And this effect happened after about 5 or 6 days the cyclone had passed. So the cyclone led to kind of massive thunderstorm and rains and cloudy weather in entire region of MP. There were a couple of intense rain periods, and you can see the drop was so steep. It was steeper than what the national lockdown caused. Right. So why I'm highlighting this is that we deal in a system with so many variable sources of energies, both from injection and drawal point of view. And renewables are not the only variable source of energy. We are yet to look at the impact of EVs and the distributed energy resources. We don't have such a large penetration so far, right? So we can only see that the power system is going to be more and more dynamics, and we have to find ways to handle it more effectively. Forecasting is one of the kind of lowest hanging fruits, and there was an interesting study carried out by NREL very recently, which talked about what if the forecast improvises, what are the benefits we can derive from the system operations point of view. So basically this study was aimed at quantifying the overall commercial or monetary benefits from the system operations point of view. And the three columns you see here, the very first column represents the forecast as it is. The interesting colors to follow here is basically the purple color, which refers to basically a gas-based generation. And you can see that as you improve the forecast accuracy, your switching on and switching off for those flexible units like gas-based generations become much less prevalent. What it means is that you can expect about 1% improvement in operating cost and about 10% improvement in startup and shutdown cost. Now, at a large scale, this 10% improvement in startup and shutdown cost for, say, thermals and gas and hydro-based stations could be very large. So there is a commercial benefit as a system when you look at more and more accurate predictive capabilities, be it weather or renewables or demand. Overall, when we look at the grid, the entire ecosystem is changing. We have a very mega concentrated solar and renewable parks coming. So any weather event happening there will impact the grid. Conventional stations are becoming more like renewables, where they would more and more start becoming like peaking stations. A real-time, ultra-fast response in load generation balance will drive the future of grid operations. And storage and EVs and virtual power plants are the new concept that will start taking a mainstream approach like the renewables have taken. So this is where we see that a good AI and predictive capabilities can support. These are some of the snapshots. I'll not dwell more upon it, but roughly about 3% accuracies you can expect in demand on a day-ahead basis, roughly about 1.5% error So 98.5% accuracy you can expect on intraday basis. These are some of the snapshots for renewables. IoT is another area where we see the system can benefit a lot. Today, we are perhaps the only sector where you have a customer who is supposed to pay. And if they do not pay, we do hesitate to disconnect them, right? If you are a telecom service customer, if you don't pay to Airtel or Vodafone or Jio, they'll immediately disconnect your service. You are using Tata Sky, you don't pay them, within the same minute you get your TV switched off. I mean, your subscription gets knocked out. Same happens with Netflix or any other subscription service. This is such a core commodity for the health of distribution companies. It's important that the customer pay on time. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen. And to solve that, we are working on variety of programs, distribution transformer monitoring under National Smart Grid Mission. The smart metering program in itself is such a large. However, even today with this set of programs, we still do not anticipate the distribution companies having flexible network control. And what I mean with flexibility is that, do we have means to say provide a softer alarm to the customer? Why disconnect? Like a colleague earlier mentioned that you set up a football match, but that's again like a non-sure way of handling things. Can we reduce the load, say from 5 kilowatt customer to 2 kilowatt, so that they can still run the lights and provide a softer alarm that, okay, you have not paid your dues, you are getting reasonable limits in terms of electricity supply, but if you do not pay further, we will disconnect you fully. This kind of flexibility even today we see missing, and we need to use more AI and IoT based solutions here to drive those changes, where customer is connected, the distribution company also is connecting with the customer in a bidirectional way. Some of the use cases that we have worked on is that the submetering and applying AI and IoT over reducing the energy theft, improvise the billing efficiencies and consistency in terms of validating. So again, we built kind of a small sensor which can go on the pole, a tiny kind of metering devices, either 1S class or 0.5S class. You use that, provide a central connection to the utility. So utility can not only do submetering, but also get pretty close to real-time data for all of their customers. If you have a primary meter at the customer place where they may not be accessible, you can also do comparison. The pole level meter also will ensure that if there is a theft in particular subsection of a feeder, that also you can identify. And a host of other analytics also evolves around clustering of residential customers based on the load profile, applying the weather intelligence over it, geofencing using GIS applications, and so on and so forth. So overall, we see that the system is changing rapidly, and a host of new technologies can derive a lot of benefits for the utilities, be it generation, transmission, and distribution. And then this is what we have been working on since past about 10 years. And with that, I would like to end my session. If there are questions, would be happy to take up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pandya. Is there any question from the audience? I don't see any right now. So then we move on to the next speaker, Mr. Akash Shah. Yes, Mr. Shah, may we have your question? In the meanwhile, we move on. How will AI and neural networks help in the renewable energy prediction?
Okay. Okay.
Or seamless renewable power. Okay.
So do you want to answer answer it now, or we can take it when all the sessions are over?
You may answer this now, sir.
Yes, so the AI works on multiple areas. The neural net basically is a more complex way of optimization problems that some of you would have tried during your engineering and post-graduation days, that you use linear programming or quadratic programming. Uh, the neural net works in pretty much same fashion, but it's quite broad-based, where you can have layers and layers of neuron which can identify relationship between input and output. And the output being what is the accuracy of the parameter you want to predict. In this case, it will be renewable. The primary inputs would be the weather data, the historical generation, and so on and so forth. And we can take up this, topic at a length if you want, maybe post session.
I think it's a very good idea that we will have a separate session on some of the interesting issues. Serene, please circulate.
Sure, sir.
And maybe on this networks and distribution management, we can have just a dedicated session with
Sure, sir.
only 2 or 3 lead speakers, and the rest can be questions. Okay? Thank you
Sure,
so
sir.
much.
Thank you.
Let's carry on, because we're running behind time.
Yes. So thank you, Mr. Pandya, for answering the question. So now may I request Mr. A.K. Mishra, Director, National Smart Grid Mission, to kindly address us. Over to you, sir.
Good morning. Good
Good
noon,
morning.
rather, to everyone. And thank you to all the speakers. They have covered some of the key concepts and the concerns, which I have as part of my slides otherwise. So I'm trying to share my screen. I hope the current screen will go away out of itself. Okay. So I think I'll need a permission, and someone need to stop the screen sharing. Okay, so step I am. Now it is giving me some permission. And I hope now my screen is visible to all. Of course, not in the presentation mode, which I'll bring it up in a couple of minutes. Okay, not at the right place. So I have to go back, go at the beginning. That's the place. And then it starts. Grid modernization, where are we and what we plan to do? That's what I plan to share with all of you. Is that okay?
That's fine, sir. Carry on.
Thank you. Now, let me begin with the quote from Gita. The basics we need to keep in mind that, and this is the first one is Aadhar, Karta or Sabsadhan. So technology is only a subpart, Sadhan. Pratak Vistar se Cheshta Vivid with Dev, and that's probability, don't go by Bhagya. ये है हेतु 5 प्रकार के, और तन मन वचन से जन सभी जो कर्म जग में कर रहे हो ठीक या विपरीत, इनके 5 ये कारण के. So if you are successful, if things are successful, they are not successful, there are multiple things which may fall in place, they may not fall in place. So an orchestrator need to figure it out where things have gone wrong and what he can do. Some of these things is can be a problem in the base can be corrected by an additional investment by the Karta or Sadhan technology. So some of these choices continue to be imbalanced, and there are actors to take care of that. And technology itself has 3 parts: the artifacts, so a smartphone, so phone is the technology, the skills to use it, to consume it, and the ecosystem. Without an app, what's a smartphone? If you do not have Google Map, a smartphone can't show you the destination place. Now, what's happening to the grid? So what are the challenges? Everyone knows. So it's given, it's a renewable. Renewable have 3 phases. Phase 1, they don't have any impact. Phase 2, minor changes to operating pattern. Phase 3, renewable determines the operation pattern of system, and that's the highest level achieved by, say, Karnataka, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, AP, Telangana, Rajasthan. That's where we are in renewables. Overall, India is in phase 2, and of course, this is all theoretical. Someone is experiencing system experience period where VRE makes up almost all the generation. Phase 5, growing out of VRE surplus. Sometimes, someplace it is there in worldwide, the experience. And seasonal or interannual surplus of deficit VRE, we are not there. No need to be worried about that. So that's the basic thing we have to understand. Flexibility need of power system is flexibility of power. You need power balance, otherwise there is a breakdown. Load generation balance, flexibility for energy. What you produce on the peak of the day, you need, if you consumption is in the evening, you need to shift some of the things. Flexibility for transfer of capacity. You may have generation plus A and energy requirement B. The capacity of network should be good enough to transfer it all the time. And flexibility of voltage, whatever you do, whenever you do, you should be able to maintain the node voltage, or there will be a collapse of grid. And I think this captures some of these things in a different format, and demand response shifts sits in minutes to hour framework max. Sometime it can be in, but nothing beyond that. No, that's another base. Please keep it in mind. And grid operation is planning based on your network and other capacity, scheduling it, execution of those scheduled to you as do as planned, monitor. That's again in one crucial part, and then manage. Excuse me. Okay. So real-time monitoring, that's in days and hours, and managing in minutes. And of course, sub-second only elements save themselves. There is nothing humans can do about it. That's great for you. That's for, I think I should skip here, otherwise in time. Traditional versus smart grid. Traditional was your generation was centralized, transmission element were controlled, and of course, wide area management system was not present, now it is present. And distribution was one-way street, fixed role, manually operated devices. You consume, the network was to take care of the local consumption. A smart grid is slowly, it is transforming. Generation is distributed. Generation is renewable. So you don't really have a control. You may end up controlling the consumption. And distributed automation devices, more monitoring, more control at distribution side because of distributed generation as well as need for consumption control. So you will need the smartness of the grid. Transmission and distribution grid smartness will be almost matching. We are not yet there. And we need to be sure that distribution has to be reliable. Any reliability is plan, do, check, and act. From radial to ring main units, interconnected feeders, from reactive to proactive maintenance planning, addition, on-off grid obligation, from feeder tripping incident analysis, that is the kind of check, DT failure analysis, loading constraint analysis, and of course, then acted, analyze existing network, results of feeder segregation, new addition, then you act on all of those. What we need to is more than 99% of availability, planned and preventive maintenance, robust network, tariff options, perspective plan for distribution, microgrids, and of course, quality of supply. Ideal monitoring footprint, if I have all the money and no worry, I may end up monitoring all nodes of distribution. That's not the reality. So where do we start monitoring? We choose to start monitoring at the edge. Why? Will be coming. So at edge is the smart meter with all the communication as much as we can outsource. And of course, at all the edge, transformer, feeder, and of course, centralized system is there and all consumers. But becoming a smart is a stepwise process. You won't become over smart. Over smart people think that they are too smart, but Basically, SmartNet is a step-by-step approach. You need to measure, you have to network those measurements, you have to manage those in real-time analysis and act on those. So you will have an action as well. Then need to integrate across the various measurements and action points available, and you have to be smart so you don't go down by investing too much in one area, like that Mr. Mishra of one of the picture who procured all the investment he did and prepared collars from the investment and ended up waiting, and he was kind of checkmated because he couldn't prepare short in time. So you need to be smart where you invest, what you do. In case of smart metering, and technology itself is a maturity process. So today, a smart meter is mature when it comes to revenue or efficiency improvement or reliability improvement. Of course, it gives some investment, not yet there unless you have matching interventions, reducing O&M cost against matching interventions, enabling new product and services. We are not yet mature enough. So a smart meter have a lot of things to do. My early co-panelists have already covered it. So to tackle all these things, we have created a federal structure of National Smart Grid Mission in 15, where Governing Council headed by Honorable Minister, Empowered Committee headed by Honorable Secretary Power, and of course National Smart Grid Mission Monitoring Unit headed by me, Director PMU. Currently, it is ably supported by Technical Committee chaired by Chairperson CEA and a Smart Grid Knowledge Center, which is the resource center for it. But we can make things work only if we have collaborative state discoms, so state level project monitoring unit headed by Energy Secretary and utility smart grid cells. We need to act in tandem to achieve that future while maintaining the grid integration, discoms, sustainability, and consumer onboarding, and of course expanding everybody's option while meeting the ongoing changes in generation from fossil based to renewable. So up to now 19 states have established, in some one state have come out with a funding pattern for a smart grid, that's the Telangana. Others are also doing it. So that's one activity on base part of it, how the orchestrators are organized. For smart metering, we have two action. One is we have AMI service provider standard bidding documents. So those can be leveraged by utilities to bring in the new investment as well as new insights and technology providers. And to understand an ecosystem maturity, pilot projects were conducted. Those are now commissioned and they were well spread, all from northeast to west, from south Puducherry to the north Himachal. Pilots have completed. Okay, it's a bit dated. All pilots are completed. The 1.5 lakh smart meters were installed. Latest will be available from our website. State levels, PMUs. So we have a mature grade of maturity in smart metering, not fully, but somewhere. State will, SLPMUs have state distribution companies, regulators, state power and finance departments, academia, and of course, prominent NGOs. They can be co-opted, expected to meet quarterly. So they set the agenda for the state or their discom, and what they can do is address technical commercial implication, interact with possible development partners, mobilize cooperation, analyze as is a state of in. Please. Hello. So analyze as is state. Okay. No, I thought there was some question. Enable informed goals for a smart grid. So we got lakhs of feeders. Not everyone can be smartened on tomorrow. Some of the Analysis can be average revenue per feeder, what kind of pricing can be there, reliability or temporary interruption and reliability, feeder load profile for conformative to DISCOM average or contrarian, and accordingly intervene for renewable or for incentivizing. So there were recommendations for a smart grid deployment for new assets. Feeder should have sectionalizers. We are hopefully for 1/3 of section, and not more than 1/3 of section should be outaged in a single event. New EHV transmission line should have wide area management and PMU. All substations should have RMU and automation. New distribution generation of more than 500 kilowatts should have MPPT. All new connections should be given prepaid smart meter. For existing assets, resource permitting, adequate FPI RMU sectionalizers based on the analysis, double feed up to 30% initially. After 3 or 4 years, complete network can be double feed. So both end feeding after 18 to 24 next 30%. So that's resource, and resource is human capacity as well within the discoms. So those are the stepwise step we are recommending. Value addition be on reliability information to be updated in the bills of consumers. Analytics with renewable energy forecasting has to be there. Encouraging consumers for RE identified potential areas so they can take initiatives. Simultaneously, consumer side, and consumer is the king investment, where consumer rights are notified if reliability is priced. So if we take source data of on one electricity regulatory commission, what penalties they have given, assumption that there are 2000 consumers per feeder, we analyzed one particular cities, a couple of feeders in interruption. What we gave them a feedback is, with these kind of interruption, you can end up paying close to a 3/4 of a crore for a week if you are not conscious of your inverse, if you are not conscious of your reliability. And tentative expenditure for automation for a 10 circuit kilometer feeder could be 1.5 crore. And all these things are on as on that day. All of them can be optimized. They can be further, their competition can make a difference. But all these are possibilities. And what we are seeing is there will be new role for distribution system operators. We are seeing where there are distributions of system operators, be it CSC, be it Delhi Discom, be it the new franchises in cities. There is an impact. So system operator has to take care of his role. There has to be focused role. What they can do is increase flexibility in distribution network, reduce network investment using DERs, and of course leverage data to increase RE penetration and right size their investment. But how they can do it? They can do it through data analysis. Do we have data analysis as on today? No. So we expect startups to do that analysis. We need to have incubators who can handle those startups for, of course, enabling technology transfer, academy, industry interaction, dedicated cells for interaction, infrastructure support for shared capital, intensive infrastructure, or this one is from ISRO, but then similar for power sector, buyback arrangements, pilot development, and spin-offs. So those initiatives are going on. Establishment of technology incubation hub is one of the key, where infrastructure of co-working space, lab facility, meeting room, conference, market access to pilot opportunity, go-to-market strategies network, and of course, business mentorship, legal support, technology and expertise, government grant and private equity, venture funding, all are going to be put together. One is coming up as a smart grid knowledge center, and which is of course part of overall ecosystem of NSGM, where the park, incubation hub, capacity building, and partnership all will be there, who will be attempting energy accurate accounting, loss reduction, network management, customer service improvement, RE integration, operation improvement, power procurement optimization, supply ecosystem size, technology providers with who can showcase their product, utility industry engagement, facilitate market access, and of course access to platform. Startups and new age companies can have a test bed, incubation mentorship, access to financing, commercialization. Those are the dreams with which SGKC is moving forward, and creating value proposition all around is the key. So those are the initiatives which are ongoing. What we are seeing is history has been that we have supply side, we have smartness, but that was a couple of 10,000 points. On demand side, if we have to do, we are talking in terms of millions, and those millions of numbers can only be monitored to a smart meter, which what all can be done, my panelists have already covered. But enablers will be an ecosystem where multiple people can simultaneously experiment and then come up with solutions which will enable right kind of decision making for power procurement, for reliability improvement, for value proposition for consumers as well as the utilities. And that's where NSGM is active as of now. Thank you. I think we are over the limit, so I'll stop here and be ready for answer.
Thank you,
Thank you
Mishra
so
ji.
very much. Yes.
I think with the various eminent speakers who have spoken today, I have only one observation, and that is, you see, while we have perfected the art of system management and talked about technology, the most essential arm of any business is the consumer. And I think reporting to the consumer any breakdowns or expected time of restoration, these are, I think, something which is, I find, is not present in the models. Because when a complaint center was available locally, people had assurance that they could immediately rush there, people in my generation, and get an assurance how soon will the fault be repaired, or if there's a problem that is coming. In all these technology solutions, we have not taken that consumer on board. And I think today, if it is mobile number available, if we can immediately communicate to him that there is a fault, how soon it is going to be restored, then I think, Mishra ji, that should probably be mandatory. Because when you are providing an ISO for the system,
can I respond, sir?
you need to provide all this. Thank you. Please.
Sir. So that's part of the blueprint. Of course, I missed covering it here. Currently, I am working on a project where we have to standardize, at least give the minimum specification for a smart meter enabled consumer app. And that app, to begin with, not is giving the data of his consumption, but ultimately my job is to get it integrated across outage management system, across the local team of the DISCOM, and making available the likely restoration time or the future interruption or all options available or solutions available to the consumer. That's the blueprint expansion which I have to get it done. So let's figure it out, but we don't really have a solution today. And that all the startup calling, that a smart grid knowledge center, that ecosystem enablement, and we can run on all the the directions. That's the idea, because I'm sure we can ordain and give enough investment to make it happen from top down, but it may not be in time, it may not be most efficient, it may not have that tango of so rather than doing either or, we are doing top down, we are enabling the bottoms up, we want to do a tango and rather have that consumer delight. That's part of the ultimate goal. Hope I did clarify some of the things.
Unless we fix a time frame, Mishra ji, unless we fix a time frame for these people and make it mandatory and ultimately recommend to the regulator that he must make this mandatory, the loop is never complete.
That's why it's a regular.
You see, what I find, you see, in today's, not only in this particular sphere of management, but in general management, is that we are working on computers and we think that we have done everything. It is the ground reality. It's the ground touch with the consumer, just as in a hospital with a patient. Now, till you have that contact and that reassurance, that confidence, and that getting everybody on board is not complete. So that I would request you kindly to do this. I'm sorry for a shortage of time. We're running already behind time, but I thought I'll make this intervention not for you alone, but for all the eminent participants today. We will have a special session on just on a particular aspect of this technology, maybe 1 or 2 hour interactive session where questions can be asked. Thank you so much for all your wonderful interventions, your presentations, and so reassuring that we are all on board, more or less, as far as the modernization of DISCOMs is concerned. Thank you so much. Serene, please carry on with the second part of your program. Thank you, sir, for all sparing your time today.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank
you, sir. Thank you.
I thank all the eminent speakers of this session and also the sponsors, Anvil Cables, CESE Limited, RE Connect, and QNext. Now we go over to the next session, which will deal on AI-based interface for public and private sector. The session will be chaired by Mr. Avadish Kumar, CEO, QNext International, followed by Mr. Indranil Chakraborty, Regional Manager and Location Head, Siemens, Mr. Suraj Upadhyay, Head Maintenance, KGP, Tata Hitachi, Dr. Ashutosh Nataraj, CEO, Vedrona, Mr. Vivek Goel, Chief Engineer, CEA, and the concluding remarks by the conference chairman, Mr. Anil Razdan. Over to you, Mr. Kumar.
Serene, sorry for just one intervention. I think from a feel of what we've had today and the excellent presentations, we
Yes,
should
sir.
probably have a practitioner's workshop.
Sure, sir.
They agree with the technical experts, and maybe a 2-hour workshop where there can be a direct interactive session with at least 3 or 4 practitioners and experts on the technology, and maybe we have a workshop so that's more practical on the job. Thank you so much. Please carry on.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Serene, and thanks. I must thank ICC for organizing such an apt seminar, and I must thank Mr. Razdan for setting the tone right for what we really need at this hour. And with that brief, we'll just touch upon what we heard in the previous session is the kind of revolution that particularly the distribution sector is going through. So given the density of sensors that we're thinking of putting on the network, and if I just go by the plan, we're talking about some 250 million smart meters in due course. That probably will make India the most dense in terms of these sensors in the network. If you look at the population density that we have 1/3 the landmass with 3 times the population of US, right? So with that high density network, and at the same time, if you compare the per capita consumption, we are nowhere close to these developed world. So on one hand, yes, we'll have a lot of data, but the challenge is how do we make it viable and affordable at the same time beneficial. Now, with that, now if you look at what we have spoken about regarding these smart sensors, what meets the eye is just the tip of the iceberg. And as Mr. Razdan just pointed out, that unless we have the end customer, the stakeholder, where he comes first, probably will not be able to benefit, not be able to get the real benefit of smart grid. If you look at the global experience, it also suggests the same. I mean, if you look at globally, investment versus benefit of these smart meters, because globally the more developed market adopted these much earlier. but with limited benefits. So unless we think through the real use cases, which are the value adds that ultimately is driven by the customers, we again may end up in a situation where the ROI on the investment might become a challenge. Uh, what smart meters does enable though, that it changes our customer interaction. I mean, the kind of interaction we can have in this new world is going to be totally different from what we have ever imagined. At the same time, there's a lot of power which can go to the customer's hand. He can literally control many things. Uh, but even before that, if you look at the various different use cases, the kind of revolution it can bring to the market from the customer perspective, the kind of differentiation we can have across customers, the kind of value add services which can be put onto this smart meter, where the data is the enabler for those services. Because the real asset here is the data that we collect. Now, it's more about how much of value we extract from that data, and that will drive the ROI. Now, if we simply stick to billing efficiencies or collection efficiencies or outage management and so on and so forth, we probably will not be able to hit that ROI mark that we need, given our per capita consumption. So what are those use cases that could be very, very interesting? And we see that I firmly believe that there are some very, very interesting use cases beyond what we have discussed, which are on the customer side of it, driven by the amount of data that we collect, because these energy data, mind you, is very, very powerful. It tells you a lot about the customers. It tells you a lot about their usage patterns, and in the usage pattern, what is hidden is also the kind of users that they have, and what those kind of users, different kind of end user of that energy, which is sitting at the customer end, and how you can also leverage that information to give various different kind of value-add services. So there's a lot to it, which probably can benefit the customers and ultimately, of course, all the stakeholders, apart from mere billing and billing or collection efficiencies or outage management, or for that matter, demand side management and so on and so forth. There's a lot to it. Just that we have to be a lot creative, and the limitation will be purely on our imagination what all can be done. And with EV boom, again, you will have a significant amount of other kind of use cases which can come in, given that the network is fully connected in true sense. Now, of course, some of the low-hanging fruits has already been discussed about, more in terms of forecasting and so on and so forth, and optimization. But the real killer for smart meters to be successful will be not just these efficiencies that we're talking about in current context. It's more about the future use cases that we can have, a new business model which can emerge out of it, new opportunities, which is customer-centric opportunities. Some of the straightforward cases could be, think of aggregating all kind of services that we can give to the end consumer, leveraging that data of end use, the kind of electronics he's using, what is happening to those electronics, are they working as per the specification, or is there some kind of proactive maintenance we can do for them? So there are just some examples. There are many, many, many more use cases that we can have. This particular consumer data that we're talking about is much, much more powerful data of consumers that we have ever had. Just that globally, this data has not been leveraged properly. And that has been one of the main reasons why the ROI across the globe from smart meters has not truly been leveraged. And we have to be more careful about it, purely because our per capita consumption is also not comparable to those nations. Our per capita consumption is indeed wanting. And hence, to make it economically viable, we must make it customer-centric. And that is where where I picked up from Mr. Razdan's comment in the last, which said, okay, fine, it's not just the customer, because, I mean, customer is the king and also creates a lot of opportunities because that is an asset. All the data that you get is an asset on which you can have various different kind of product and services that you can offer to the end user. So that probably will be the real revolution on the customer side. And the advantage now is that if you look at any sector, for example, if you look at banking, when banking went digital, they had to run massive drive to move customers from branch to offline digital platforms. Now, what COVID has done is that it has educated a large mass of the population which earlier were not digital savvy. They're digital savvy now. So suddenly your end customer is much, much smarter without incurring any cost in a way for the enterprises. So today we won't have to run those drives to move customers from these visit to the branch to the offline digital mode. They are ready for that. So it's all about whether we take that opportunity because the customer is ready. We'll have the technology and we will have the data with these smart sensors. It's all about how creative we can get, how imaginative we are. That will determine where we go with this and whether we are able to realize the true benefit of these sensors from these sensors, or we end up in a trap like many other countries where now only after having these value-add kind of services that they have started realizing the true benefit of it. So we can actually have a leap, frog leap here. And from day zero, we can start thinking of these use cases so that we can reduce the time window to start realizing the true ROI that we can potentially get from such smart network. So that is the brief, and will not take much time. I'll invite. I don't have the list. With that brief, I would like to invite Mr. Where is that list? List. Give me a second. Sorry, I had misplaced the list. Extremely sorry, between two lists. So with that brief, I would like to invite Mr. Indranil Chakrabarti to share his thoughts. He's a regional manager and location head, Siemens. So over to
Yeah,
Indranil.
yeah. Thanks, Mr. Kumar, and respected Mr. Razdan, and all the respected panel members. I'm heading digital industries for Eastern region in Siemens, and also a location in charge for the Siemens Shantipuri Kolkata office. I'm just sharing the screen just to put up thoughts on what are the Siemens drive or what we conceptualize for artificial intelligence and also energy management. So just yeah, is it? I think it is visible. The screen is visible.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you. So let me take you for this. See, what is the perception? Let me tell you. The definition of AI is basically creating machines that platform functions, and that requires intelligence when the performed by the people. That's a famous Kuzail in 1990. It has been given. The perception is basically what our earlier speakers have told is basically the perception is that data which are available from the industries or from anywhere like the basic raw data, and this has to be an internal world model where this pattern recognition is being done for all the data, and the action is this observe, act, and reward. That is the basic that decision making under the certainties condition. So that's the basic function, and that is the step towards the artificial intelligence. Coming forward, all the industry project for that this Siemens, we are present over there. There are successful AI solutions are available. There are successful AI tools are available, which is transferable, modular, compatible in AI library, and also a fast, scalable, cost-effective AI development, which is being done by Siemens partner engineers, where a solution can be given to the industry project and also to the distribution. But I'm talking only for the industry project right now. Coming back to data-driven analysis, it is basically a sort of a finding fault or it is a no fault, and then it's a knowledge-based. Knowledge-based means it's basically a industry-specific where either it's a process industry or it is a other industry. So we need to know the what is the process behind it. It could be a petroleum industries, oil and gas, chemical, whatever it may be. We are having pertinent members or pertinent engineers to know about the particular process, and then based on the process this knowledge based analytics is being formed with taking all the necessary data from these industries. Coming back to this, we are using a state of art analytic competencies where there is combining of a neutral networks, decision trees, support vector machines, self-organizing maps, and also the principal component analysis, mixture modules, and change point analysis. So these are the all that state-of-art analytics competencies which are available in Siemens. What we are doing is that it is basically a prevent a plant outage, basically with the help of RPCS 7. It's a my expert, which is determining the performance, or which is reducing the that which is optimizing the production capacity. Also a predictive analysis where you can predict whatever the faults are, or whatever this that whatever there is a leakage, whatever there is a scrap, that can be minimized. Also optimize maintenance, which can be given as a solution to any of the industries, or any part of or a particular shop floor, where a value predictive maintenance can be done, and also a optimized solution can be given. There is one called energy efficiency, which has also been given as a solution, and also a asset performance, which is come by a fleet manager. This fleet manager can decide that if a OEM has supplied a lot of his plants, a lot of his machines to to the same industries, that fleet manager can decide that the OEM can control or his machines through a virtual platform for this any type of industries. So identifying the optimal operation modes, that is the data analytic consulting. There is also a solution available that taking all the data from different industries, we can also give a sort of a consultancy where this sort of Booz Allen or a McKinsey is giving for normally an organization. We can give a consulting approach for any of the industries, where we can take the data from starting from this that R&D data, that execution everywhere, and then giving a sort of a composite approach or a consulting that solution, so that the whole all over industry can give a sort of a can get a sort of a ROI. Any sorry, any question? Okay. So that's a basically a sort of an example, which is determine the paper quality paper quality prediction based on the process parameters, which is gives a higher product quality, improved operation, and a better process stability. That comes starting from the pulp, storage, grinding, chemical treatment, machine settings, and also includes the lab. So it is basically a sort of an example where in a paper plant, our solution can be given with the help of a data analytics, and it is increasing that prediction can be done on the process parameters, so that it is increasing the that final product improvement, and also gives a sort of a ROI to the owner of this plant, or to the industry. This is the example of it. I'm not going details into it. So these are available. It is basically a expected specification violation, overview of the jet string, prediction advance, and then address of the top 5 production losses, which can be done through this predictive analysis of this total AI system. So these are the industry challenges. What are the industry challenges? Missing tools to the continuously and efficiently analyze process and assets, limited resources with the sufficient knowledge and the competencies. These are the IoT solutions which are available, cross-field and multi-firm data integrations, interactive machines learning tools, and correlation of the calculations, and also a historical database model. So that gives a benefit, that gives a ROI, which is talked about, where it gives a higher operation efficiency through the that predictive monitoring, or a better decision accuracy through the identification of the correlations. So that gives a total model. This is the total dashboard, which is giving important and necessary part of the smart plant, which is practically a robust tool, and which is gives a total predictive maintenance, integrating human experience, what is total know-how, and the machine data analytics, and the computing capability. Everything can be given on this dashboard. So these are the things which are available in Siemens. So the basic part of it is that plant data resource transformation, contextualization, which is basically what is the context the data has been set, and how to understand the data is being how to understand that how the data analytics can be given, and then the analytics part of it, and learn and act on it to give a ROI. So this is the whole model. It is coming from the inputs, then the predictive analytics, and the targets. That is the main part of it. It is basically exploring, identification, and build. And then this is the called a magic square, which is comes from on the x-axis the user experience and the business and domain know-how, which is there in everywhere, comes from flexibility, T2M, quality and efficiency, and also the data and methods which accumulated with that smart data analysis, and then comes to this right hand side, which is a flexibility, T2M, quality and efficiency. So that's the magic square, which is gives you the total performance of this AI or artificial intelligence. That's I've already told this, that this is the thing which is create a data, and then data engineering, then data science, and manage the service. So these are the whole that supply chain of this total artificial intelligence. That's all from my side for this artificial intelligence. And now come back to the what is this things is there in energy manager from Siemens. This is called a typical term from Siemens called semantic energy manager. And basically what are the equipments which are connected in the basic level, like starting from the air circuit breaker or molecular circuit breaker, or a sort of a machine tool application, or a sort of a PLC. So this is the integrated energy measurement, which is taken from the base level equipment, and then it is a semantic energy suite, which is called a semantic manager, and also a sort of a SCADA system which is being done. And then it is taken to the MindSphere just to analysis, to have a sort of a through a semantic energy manager, so that a plant and company wide energy analysis can be given. So this called a power monitoring, measured values can be displayed separately in seconds, flexibly in operation, or flexible in presentation and analysis, operation, reports, dashboards, management KPIs, then tracking and that derivation of the measures, easy entry into the energy management, and derivation of energy efficiency measures on the basis of the individual definable key figures. This is the energy manager basic. There are two things are available. One is energy manager basics, and another is the energy manager pro. Energy manager pro is a sort of a that extra features which are available in energy manager pro. Basic is also being implemented in the industry, and also energy manager pro is being implemented also. This is not for industry, this is also for the distribution. Also we are giving some of this smart grid applications. So what is this data is coming from? This is energy. This is basically from energy suite, WinCC, Modbus, OPC UN or ACII, and then energy manager basics, which is basically a web engineering which is being done, and then tracking, derivation and reporting is being taken place. So that is basically a semantic energy basic, which is the dashboard which is being shown. It is very simple, system independent independent access, and save time by avoiding additional configuration. So that's a basic thing. Fast calculation of the KPI has been done in this through this dashboard, even on the data input level. And this is the pro, which is being also available for the details analysis and the cross location access. This is also a very user friendly, and also it can give including the targets, and actual comparison and follow up is being also given. This is also available in the app version, which can be downloaded in the mobile, and also through the mobile a person can identify that what is the value which is coming for energy data, and what are the precautions can be taken place. So there is no further requirement for the MindSphere or edge devices. So these are the two things which I have told already, and that's all from my side. I think I have taken the exact timing which you have given to me. So over to Serene for the next presenter.
Hi Indranil, Avdesh here. Just a couple of quick questions.
Yeah.
So, some of the things that we spoke about, particularly on the distribution network side. Now, what is the basic infrastructure requirement for these kind of technologies? I'm purely asking because if you think of India, different discoms are at different levels of maturity in terms of readiness for some of these technologies. So, what is your view on that?
Thanks, Mr. Avdesh. Let me tell you, see, we have done, as far as industries are concerned, we have done in cement plant also. There is a cement plant called C Cements. So where we have done this AI, and we have done this energy management system. So first thing is that you have to take the basic data from the users, where the users normally in the purview of the Indian industries concept, the user are running a sort of a plant-based equipment It was earlier on the pre-COVID days where users are normally maintaining all the plants and all the sort of machines which will be running on their normal as per the maintenance manual or not. What we have done is that we've taken the data from them, and now it's a virtual world. Real world, we cannot go to the plant and all. So what we have done is that we have taken the data from the users, and then we have connected we have taken a small area. You cannot first implement on a total industry as a whole. There is a particular plant, like sort of a it's a packaging, or it's a sort of a that inventory stocking or something like that. Particular shop or particular area we have taken, and then we have taken the data, we have made the sort of analysis and given a recommendation that you have to have this kind of that chain or supply chain, or this kind of modification has been done on the line, and these are the equipments which you have to fix it up to have this much of ROI. We have given this consultancy, we have given a sort of equipment. The equipments are being connected, and the person and the customer has seen a sort of a ROI is being done within 1 month or 2 months, and then they have given a consultancy fee, and they have given all the charges which has been given to seniors.
And as a business, you're open to a model where you are paid based on efficiency gains?
You are little. I'm not able to hear you properly.
I have a
Can
very
you just?
poor network, so sorry for that.
Yeah, yeah, no problem. Yeah, tell.
Can you hear me
again?
now?
Yeah, now, yeah, correct.
Okay. So, and what kind of business model you have? Are you open to working with efficiency-based?
Correct. Now we are trying to operating as a sort of a efficiency-based, that ROI, which is being, which we are also trying to propagate to other industries. So that's absolutely right. Yeah.
So thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Indranil. Thanks, Atan. Now with that, can we now invite Mr. Suraj Upadhyay, Head Maintenance KGP Tata Hitachi, to share his.
Can't hear you, Avdesh.
Good afternoon to have. So today I'll be, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to present, and today I'll be speaking as a consumer of the artificial intelligence in a manufacturing industry. So what are the expectations in a manufacturing industry from the artificial intelligence, implementation of artificial intelligence? Let me first share my slides. Is the screen visible?
Yes, you just got to take it to the full screen mode.
Yes. It's okay now?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll just give the brief introduction about our company, then energy management and existing energy management practice and results. I'll show the some of the artificial intelligence which has been implemented in our plant, but we cannot say it is artificial intelligence, but some automation which is and our plan expectation and our immediate challenge. So Tata Hitachi is a joint venture of Tata Motors and Hitachi Construction Equipment, where Tata Motors is a 40% stake and a Hitachi Construction Machinery is 60% stake. We are the largest manufacturing industry for earth moving equipments. We have operations like fabrication, machining facility, heat treatment, painting, assembly, dispatch. All these facilities are available in our plant. So to maintain this facility, power and fuel is a major cost head. So to make our business sustainable, if you see, there is an increase of around 63% increase in a power requirement as we are growing. So major focus of our management is to take care of the how to contain the energy cost. So currently what we are doing, we are operating on a optimization of operational cost, which comes under the electrical, thermal and alternative energy source. We monitor the variable cost and carbon footprint to make our business sustainable. So the energy management system work on a PDCA cycle. What we have done in all the years, we started with the administrative measures where we educated people to take care of the wastage of the energy. Then we started taking care of the more natural lights. Then VFD is installed in our machines. We have installed the intelligent burner so that it will the fuel efficiency will be increased. We have changed the composition of a fuel so to get the better calorific value. Building automation, many automation Kaizen we have done. So in a lighting area, we have changed from a conventional light to a energy efficient light. We are also going, thrust is in our plant to go for a solar power plant. But what next? The next is level of improvement is possible only if we go for artificial intelligence and IoT. If you look in by doing all this activity, we could achieve the power consumption rate, the electrical energy as well as thermal energy or carbon footprint, we have reduced in the specific power energy consumption. But in totality, there is a challenge how to contain that. We have installed a 10.5 megawatt of a solar power plant inside our plant premises. If you look at it, we are year on year, the ratio of a solar power consumption is increasing in our plant. Currently, we are using 72% of the solar power plant of what we are actually consuming. So I would now show some of the example of the AI where we have inside. Our plant has a 4 compressor, and for each compressor is 1000 CFM. Now, all the compressor are installed with the VFD logic, but we have installed one PLC precise control logic as well, which actually determines by looking at the consumption pattern that how many compressor need to be run. So in that way, compressor runs on a full load capacity always, and there is a saving of a power. Similarly, we have recently we have new building has come up in our plant, which is a intelligent building. It has a variable air volume for centralized AC vent, and it senses the temperature inside, and accordingly the flow is maintained. It has an insulation wall inside. VFDs are installed in the pumps. It has a LED light which is energy efficient. This building has a daylight sensor installed in it so as to consume the maximum daylight, and motion sensor is also installed in in this building. So we can think of the way of energy saving. It is there in this building. So this has been awarded a platinum rate award by Lean India as well. Now, our organization has a future plan to become a CO2 neutral by 2030. For that, we are doing a lot many activity, but use of artificial intelligence, IoT, has a bigger role to play in our actual vision. So what is our plan, future plan? So what we are thinking, we already have all the facilities. We have a satellite system, which is basically a visual system of whether all the machines are running okay or not okay. So what we will do, we are planning to connect all the machines with a transmitter, which in turn connected with one receivers in a different locations, and those receivers will be connected to our PC. So data from those receivers can go to our main server, and in the main server, our energy management data from the energy management server will also come. The energy management server basically track the energy meter reading of our different substation, and different substations are basically mapped with the location wise all the machines. So when all the data and our production is also data is available in the Tata Hitachi main server. So when all the data are available, then we can develop a program to understand whether any day high consumption, energy consumption is there, whether it is because of the high production or it is because of there is some losses is there. So this is our future plan. So by 23, we are planning to connect all our machines, and by 24 we will connect all the shops, and by 25 we'll be able to connect all the factories. That way we can benchmark with each other and see key wherever there is a scope we can improve on this. So the other area where we are seeking the support of artificial intelligence, like the activity we are doing, vibration analysis, flue gas analysis, thermography, and oven temperature monitoring. Currently we are doing manually. Once we will install the transmitter in all the machines, we can get the data in a real-time basis, and real-time information will help us in taking action in a faster way. So after the implementation of artificial intelligence, there is we assume that there will be a energy consumption at further reduced by 25%. We have a better prediction of a machine downtime. We better predict the aggregate need for supporting the assembly line. Design a dynamic assembly line. All these are the expectations. What is the immediate challenge? Our immediate challenge is to build the in-house expertise who understand the technology as well as the domain. Create a concrete plan and establish management consensus to invest in an initial phase. So these are the initial challenges we seek in this area. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing your thoughts and what has been done at your organization. It's really glad to see that technology is finding its fit slowly but surely across all sectors. So that's a very, very positive sign. Cyril, the other two speakers, I think they had some important meeting in the ministry, so they had to rush for those meetings. So we are pretty much done with all the speakers that we had for today. So now I will invite Mr. Razdan to be first, and then we are pretty much done with the session.
Thank you very much, Avdesh, for your
network has been playing hide and seek with me. So I'm in Uttarakhand, and it has been raining very, very heavily, and the network has been hide and seek.
Yes, we've had a problem here in Gurgaon and Delhi also yesterday. We had the first season's break, and we had the first experience of waterlogging, complete failure of the systems. So in fact, to my advice to my younger colleague from administration was that you cannot control flood and operations through computers. You have to do field visits and ground touch with reality.
Yes.
So that is why in today's session also, I was keen that we have a consumer as an essential nodal point of any technology intervention. No technology can be so smart as to exclude the consumer. Because the consumer is centric, after all our activities are there to satisfy a particular consumer and a particular product. Now, if we are not interacting with that product and getting that feedback, the loop is never complete. But today's session, I think, has been very, very rewarding. And particularly the session, I think, on artificial intelligence, which made me feel that
I think the network is playing up at his end too.
we
Yes,
had a
sir.
little disconnect.
Yes.
What I was saying that we could have interactive technology workshops, particularly on artificial intelligence, with some of the presenters today and an audience in the industry, which will react with them directly. And Serene, if that appeals to you and to the chamber, kindly get in touch with the members that you wish to have an interactive session of, say, half an hour each with each of the presenters and people in the industry who are interested in that interaction, and let the practitioners there interact directly with these technology gurus, so to say, and field their technical questions. Because we have to get down from policy and general assessment sessions down to what is of practical utility to industry and to technology. Because the technology vendors have a new technology to offer, and kindly work on that. And I think if the other participants also agree, today we could accelerate as subsets of our main sessions, where those who are interested in those particular segments, they can get back to you. You field a question to them, how many are interested in which particular session, then arrange those sessions accordingly, where all of us fuddy-duddies like me need not participate, and only the gurus and the bright sparks participate and get food for their action. I must thank all the participants for their excellent interaction, for their excellent inputs, and thank all of you for sparing your time, and Serene for having organized the session. And where is Mr. Gautam Ray? I don't see him. Is he around?
No, sir. Yeah, he had to log out because he also had some meetings scheduled. So
Yes, he has to count his gold. He must be in the king must be in his counting house, counting out his money, whereas we are free birds. And thank you so much, everybody, for your participation, and good luck and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
I sincerely thank all the sponsors once again who have supported this conference. Thank you so very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.